At 04:47 a.m., the digital displays in the Combat Information Center of the USS Abraham Lincoln illuminated with a threat assessment that would test decades of naval doctrine. 8 Iranian warships, their radar signatures burning bright against the pre-dawn darkness of the Strait of Hormuz, had abandoned all pretense of routine patrol and accelerated to attack speed. The coordinated nature of their approach, 3 vessels converging from the northeast, 3 more from the southeast, and 2 from almost due north, represented a textbook swarm attack pattern that NATO analysts had studied extensively but never witnessed executed with such precision. The watch officer's voice cut through the ambient noise. "Captain, multiple hostile contacts inbound at high speed. This is not a drill. Recommend immediate general quarters." The carrier's claxons shattered the pre-dawn quiet at 04:48 a.m., sending nearly 5,000 sailors scrambling toward battle stations. Pilots erupted from ready rooms, still pulling on flight suits, sprinting toward the flight deck, where ordnance crews were already arming Super Hornets with Harpoon anti-ship missiles. The massive vessel, displacing over 100,000 tons, had suddenly transformed from a symbol of power projection into a target for weapons specifically engineered to penetrate its armor. Below decks, ammunition handlers worked with controlled urgency, each man acutely aware that modern anti-ship missiles could breach even the strongest defenses. The E-2D Hawkeye, orbiting at 20,000 feet, updated its threat assessment at 04:51 a.m. with information that fundamentally altered the tactical picture. Signals intelligence detected fire control radars going active across all 8 vessels simultaneously, the electromagnetic precursor to missile launch. The Iranian formation had closed to 36 nautical miles, well within range of Chinese-made C-802 anti-ship cruise missiles, capable of covering that distance in approximately 4 minutes. Electronic warfare officers detected coordination, suggesting a synchronized salvo launch designed to overwhelm defensive systems through sheer volume. The mathematical reality was stark. Even the most sophisticated missile defense systems could be saturated if enough weapons arrived simultaneously from multiple vectors. At 04:53 a.m., the USS Gravely, an Arleigh Burke-class destroyer positioned 8 miles ahead of the carrier, pivoted hard to unmask its forward vertical launch cells, while its Aegis combat system achieved firing solutions on all 8 Iranian vessels. The USS Porter moved to cover the carrier's southern approach, creating overlapping fields of defensive fire. The Abraham Lincoln's own Phalanx close-in weapon systems whirred to readiness, their radar-guided 20mm Gatling guns representing the final layer of protection. Fighter pilots felt the crushing acceleration as steam catapults launched their aircraft into the darkness, each Super Hornet armed with precision weapons. Intelligence analysts monitoring Iranian military communications detected escalating aggression at 04:56 a.m. The encrypted traffic between attacking warships and naval headquarters in Bandar Abbas revealed determined coordination. Iranian commanders were executing a deliberate plan, their communications sharp and purposeful as they refined attack vectors and synchronized missile launch sequences. The Iranian vessels showed no sign of backing down, despite clear evidence they were being tracked by multiple American weapon systems. They pressed forward with unwavering resolve, or perhaps fatal overconfidence in their ability to overwhelm American defenses through coordinated assault. At 04:58 a.m., the American submarines quietly flooded their torpedo tubes and achieved firing solutions. F-22 Raptor scrambled from Al Dhafra Air Base, screamed across the UAE coastline, their stealth characteristics rendering them invisible to Iranian radar. In Qatar, B-1B Lancer bombers received emergency action messages, each aircraft loaded with precision weapons capable of striking targets across southern Iran. At 05:03 a.m., the Iranians committed to their attack with shocking totality. All 8 Iranian warships simultaneously erupted with missile launches, a coordinated salvo as each vessel fired 3 C-802 anti-ship missiles. 24 contrails arced upward before the weapons nosed over into their sea-skimming attack profile, racing toward the American battle group at Mach 0.9, just 15 feet above the wave tops. The massive salvo represented the largest anti-ship missile attack ever directed at a U.S. Navy vessel. A wall of precision-guided weapons carrying enough explosive power to cripple or even sink a carrier if enough penetrated the defensive screen. Every alarm system screamed as Aegis combat systems detected the massive inbound threat. The American defensive response was instantaneous and overwhelming. The USS Gravely and USS Porter unleashed a barrage of SM-2 Standard missiles, their vertical launch cells erupting in rapid succession as dozens of interceptors screamed skyward, accelerating to Mach 3.5. The sky erupted in fireballs as the first wave of Iranian missiles died at ranges between 15 and 20 nautical miles, shredded by proximity-fused warheads that detonated in carefully calculated positions. But 9 C-802 missiles survived the outer defensive layer, their sophisticated guidance systems executing evasive maneuvers designed to complicate targeting solutions. The middle defensive zone engaged at ranges between 5 and 8 nautical miles as evolved Sparrow missiles launched from the carrier and its escorts, creating a second killing zone. 4 more Iranian missiles died in brilliant flashes of orange and white, but 5 weapons continued inbound, their targeting computers locked on to the massive radar signature of the Abraham Lincoln, closing the distance at 9 miles per minute as American weapons operators realized the Iranian attack had been better coordinated than intelligence estimates predicted. At ranges under 2,000 yards, the Phalanx systems acquired the surviving missiles, representing the final defensive layer. The 6 rotating barrels erupted in sustained roars, sending 75 tungsten penetrator rounds downrange every second, creating visible streams of tracer fire. 3 Iranian missiles flew directly into these walls of tungsten and disintegrated less than a mile from the carrier, the shock waves rattling windows on the island's superstructure. But 2 C-802 missiles executed final evasive maneuvers at the last possible instant, jinxing hard to port in desperate attempts to evade the Phalanx engagement envelope. One was caught by a second Phalanx stream and disintegrated at 800 meters. The final weapon survived the defensive gauntlet and slammed into the USS Gravely's superstructure with devastating effect. The 500-pound warhead detonated inside the destroyer's hull, tearing through radar systems, command spaces, and communications equipment. Secondary explosions erupted as stored ammunition cooked off and fuel lines ruptured, triggering fires that spread rapidly through multiple compartments. 17 American sailors died instantly in the initial blast, while 23 more suffered severe burns and injuries as the destroyer's damage control teams fought desperately to contain spreading fires and prevent catastrophic magazine detonations that would doom the entire vessel. Even as the USS Gravely's crew fought for their ship's survival, the American counterstrike launched with cold precision. Super Hornets received weapons-free authorization at 05:05 a.m., the 2-word transmission giving them legal and moral clearance to destroy every vessel that had participated in the attack.
Pilots selected Harpoon anti-ship missiles and achieved solid radar locks on all 8 Iranian warships attempting to flee at maximum speed toward Iranian territorial waters in what their captains must have known was futile. 24 Harpoons dropped from their pylons, turbojet engines igniting as the weapons descended to wave-top height and accelerated at 550 miles per hour. Simultaneously, the Virginia-class submarine fired 6 Mk-48 torpedoes at the nearest Iranian vessels, the weapon's sophisticated guidance systems tracking their targets through the water at 46 knots.
The systematic destruction unfolded with terrible precision over 8 minutes that would be studied in naval war colleges for generations. The first Harpoon struck at 05:11 a.m., slamming into an Iranian corvette amidships and detonating with enough force to break the vessel's keel. The explosion tore through fuel tanks and ammunition magazines, triggering secondary blasts that sent flames 300 feet into the air. The remaining Iranian vessels died in rapid succession as multiple Harpoons found their marks with devastating accuracy. A second corvette took 3 missiles in quick succession, the cumulative damage literally tearing the ship apart and sending it to the bottom in under 2 minutes. 2 larger frigates, representing Iran's most modern surface combatants, each absorbed 4 Harpoon strikes that reduced them to burning hulks drifting helplessly. The Mk-48 torpedoes added to the carnage, their 1,000-pound warheads detonating beneath Iranian hulls and breaking keels through sheer hydrostatic shock. By 05:19 a.m., all 8 Iranian warships had been reduced to wreckage scattered across miles of ocean. Some had sunk immediately, their hulls torn apart by catastrophic damage. Others burned for precious minutes as surviving crew members abandoned ship, jumping into oil-slicked waters littered with debris. American surveillance aircraft orbiting overhead counted approximately 43 Iranian sailors making it into life rafts from the collective wreckage of 8 warships, while thermal imaging and intercepted Iranian distress calls suggested over 300 sailors had perished, killed in the initial American strikes, trapped in sinking vessels, or lost in the burning water. At 05:23 a.m., secure communications from CENTCOM delivered authorization for retaliatory strikes against Iranian coastal installations that had supported and directed the attack. B-1B Lancers, already airborne over the Arabian Sea, released their payloads of joint air-to-surface standoff missiles, each weapon's GPS-guided warhead, programmed for specific targets identified by intelligence as critical nodes in Iran's coastal naval infrastructure. The precision strikes hit with devastating accuracy over 14 minutes of sustained bombardment. Naval headquarters in Bandar Abbas disappeared in series of massive explosions as 6 JASPs detonated within its command spaces, killing senior Iranian naval officers and destroying decades of operational planning. 3 coastal radar stations that had provided targeting data for the attack were systematically destroyed, their sophisticated equipment reduced to twisted metal. 4 missile storage facilities erupted in spectacular secondary explosions as American weapons found their targets, the blast waves visible from satellites overhead. 2 Revolutionary Guard naval bases that had launched the attacking vessels were struck by multiple weapons, their piers, repair facilities, and berthing areas transformed into rubble. 3 command and control centers that had coordinated the attack received similar treatment, each facility struck by multiple precision weapons that collapsed hardened structures and severed communication networks. By 05:37 a.m., the immediate combat had concluded, leaving behind a strategic landscape fundamentally altered. The USS Gravely,
heavily damaged with 17 dead and 23 wounded, had stabilized its fires but remained combat ineffective, beginning the slow transit back to friendly port under heavy escort. The destroyer's sophisticated Aegis system was offline, its superstructure blackened by fire and perforated by shrapnel, its crew exhausted from fighting fires and tending casualties. The Abraham Lincoln emerged physically unscathed, but remained at heightened alert, its air wing maintaining continuous patrols over waters now littered with Iranian wreckage and survivors waiting for rescue. The Iranian losses were catastrophic in every measurable dimension. 8 warships destroyed represented roughly 30% of Iran's ocean-going naval capability, eliminated in less than 10 minutes of precision strikes. 12 coastal facilities demolished meant the systematic dismantling of infrastructure that had taken decades to build and represented billions of dollars in investment. Over 300 sailors killed constituted the worst single-day loss in Iranian naval history, a toll that would resonate through communities across southern Iran for generations. The speed and totality of the defeat shattered Iranian assumptions about their ability to inflict significant damage on American forces through swarm attacks, and exposed fatal flaws in their operational planning, intelligence assessment, and understanding of modern naval warfare's unforgiving mathematics.
The geopolitical implications rippled outward from the Strait of Hormuz with seismic force, reshaping regional power dynamics and global perceptions of naval warfare in contested waters. For Iran, the disaster represented more than military defeat. It exposed fundamental vulnerabilities in the asymmetric warfare strategy that Iranian military planners had promoted for decades as their answer to American naval superiority. The anti-ship missiles that were supposed to serve as effective area denial weapons had been systematically defeated by integrated defensive systems, while the attacking vessels had been destroyed with clinical precision that suggested American technological advantages were even greater than Iranian planners had feared. The destruction of coastal infrastructure demonstrated American capability to strike deep into Iranian territory with conventional precision weapons, negating assumptions about the safety of hardened facilities. For the United States, the engagement validated enormous investments in naval technology, while simultaneously serving as a stark reminder of the extreme risks inherent in forward-deploying carrier battle groups in confined waterways. The loss of 17 sailors aboard the Gravely and the near success of Iranian missiles in penetrating multiple defensive layers tempered any sense of triumph. American military analysts noted that one Iranian missile had reached the final defensive screen, a sobering reminder that saturation attacks can overwhelm even the most sophisticated defenses, and that future adversaries with larger missile inventories might achieve different outcomes. The engagement reshaped global perspectives on naval warfare in an era of precision anti-ship weapons. The speed with which 10th standoff transformed into lethal combat, less than 3 minutes from first missile launch to first ship sinking, demonstrated how compressed decision-making timelines have become. The effectiveness of coordinated missile salvos against sophisticated defenses showed that quantity can partially offset quality, that even inferior weapons can achieve tactical success through proper employment. The devastating impact of precision retaliatory strikes illustrated how modern military technology has made it possible to conduct strategic-level attacks with conventional weapons, potentially lowering thresholds for escalation while increasing the consequences of miscalculation. Yet from the tragedy emerged important lessons about humanity, even in the midst of intense combat.
American helicopter crews launched rescue operations for Iranian survivors within minutes of the engagement's conclusion, pulling 43 burned and injured sailors from oil-slicked waters in the same professional manner they would recover their own shipmates. The crews of SH-60 Seahawk helicopters winched Iranian sailors to safety, providing immediate medical treatment aboard American vessels to men who had moments earlier been trying to kill American sailors. The professionalism and adherence to laws of war displayed by American forces stood in stark contrast to the violence of the engagement itself, demonstrating that even in combat, human dignity and international norms can be maintained. The engagement ultimately served as a powerful argument for diplomatic engagement over military confrontation. The 32 minutes of intense fighting accomplished nothing that could not have been better achieved through patient negotiation and dialogue. The sailors who died, American and Iranian, lost their lives not in defense of vital interests, but in service of decisions made by leaders who failed to find peaceful resolution to manageable tensions. The waters of the Strait of Hormuz, critical to global energy security and international commerce, had been transformed temporarily into a battlefield where modern weapons systems demonstrated their terrible efficiency at destroying both vessels and lives. For the families of the more than 300 Iranian sailors who perished and the 17 American sailors killed aboard the Gravely, geopolitical analysis provides cold comfort. They lost loved ones in an engagement that neither side truly wanted, that served no strategic purpose justifying the human cost, and that could have been avoided through patient diplomacy that both nations had failed to pursue with sufficient dedication. Their grief stands as testimony to the human cost of diplomatic failure and the precious value of peace, even imperfect peace, over the terrible efficiency of modern warfare. In waters where human civilization first emerged thousands of years ago, this latest chapter reminded humanity that for all our technological advancement, we have yet to master the most important capability of all: the wisdom to resolve our differences without destroying each other in the process. The incident stands as a permanent reminder that military power, however sophisticated, can never substitute for the patient work of building understanding between nations, and that the price of that failure is always paid in the blood of those who serve.